Go and check all the sources I've given.
I give you many of the historians
no
that say the
problem.
opposite.
Amazingly, it is the Jewish historians who are insisting on the golden age of the house of Israel under Muslim rule. Now, my question is, Joseph, if your question is valid, and if it is an intelligent question, where were the Jews for 1,000 years? From the year 1000 to 1900?
Very simple answer.
Yes.
So
where were they? Where was the 90% of the Jewish population?
What's the date range? Just give me the dates again.
Let's say 900 to 1900, 1,000 years.
So 900 to 1900.
1900.
So I would it changed because the majority of them began to be in Ashkenaz in Europe. But you're talking the early history when they were.
For 1,000 years, 90% of the Jewish people, where were they?
So they were living where they lived before the advent of Islam. Yeah, they were living in the Middle East. They were living in Spain, they were living in Morocco, they were living...
According to Bernard Lewis, again a Jewish history.
Babylon, so 900...
Iraq, Yemen, Egypt, North Africa, even India, Mughal India, and post-Mughal India. Yeah, very few, no doubt. Turkey, okay. So Joseph is actually confirming that over 90%, I mean, according to Bernard Lewis, over 90% of the Jewish people for 1,000 years lived under the domain of Islam. Why? Why were they not escaping to Africa, for example?
That's not true.
You know, no. If they don't want to go to Christian Europe, I can understand, because they were being let me finish. Sorry. They were being accused of dicide. Dicide is killing of God. The Jews were persecuted heavily throughout Europe and European history for killing God, Jesus Christ. Okay, and the books,
just killing the prophets.
And the Talmud was burnt in public. In the 13th century, after the Fourth Lateran Council of 1215, and many examples. In fact, the reason why the Jews welcomed the Muslim forces as liberators was the Fourth Council of Toledo. The Fourth Council of Toledo, which was held in 633, a year after the Prophet of Islam's death. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, died in 632. 633, there was a Catholic council held in Toledo, in the city of Toledo in Spain, where it was decreed by the Catholic Church that all the Jewish people have to give away their children to the Catholic Church to be raised as Catholics. So the Jewish children were forcefully converted into Christianity. When the Muslims came in 711, literally, let's say, almost 80 years after this incident, the Jews welcomed them as liberators, according to Zion Zohar, another Jewish historian, right? So all of this put together, we see that the Jewish people were happy under Muslim rule. How do we know that? By looking at their testimonies, which I have already quoted earlier, from place to place, person to person. Jewish rabbis are saying, we are happy, we are pleased, our living standards are even better than theirs, the Muslims.
I've got to go in about 2 minutes. Address the question of
which
why
was
the Jews flee.
Now, why did the Jewish people leave the Muslim lands? The doing of Israel. Because what happened was, when the Zionists took over after the British mandate, they took over the land of Palestine and they conducted massacres of innocent Palestinians. There was a backlash. You know what brothers like Joseph failed to understand, or possibly deliberately failed to acknowledge, is the political milieu, the political situation of the Middle East at the time. Okay, Muslims didn't suddenly wake up one day and say, okay, hold on a second, we're going to go for all the Jews now. No, it doesn't work like that. They had 1,000 years to do it. They had 1,000 years to do it when they had armies like Mamelukes, the Ottomans. You know what the Ottomans were? You know their military strength? You know what they had? You have no idea. They besieged Vienna, thousands of miles away from Constantinople. You're telling me they couldn't see the Jews at home, right at the doorstep? They could see them, right? What happened in 1940s is the question. Why suddenly all the Jewish people started to leave Muslim lands? Because they were blaming the Zionists, like Orthodox Jews from Stamford Hill and Golders Green today are daily and nightly condemning the Zionists for doing things in their name which they completely disown. And we cherish these Jewish brothers and sisters, who are great people, who are simply disowning the Zionists like we the Muslims disown ISIS, right? ISIS equals Zionists, okay? And speaking against the atrocities of the Zionists against the Palestinian people is not anti-Semitism, because there are I have Jewish friends, they are not Zionists, and they condemn all the atrocities against the Palestinian people, right? So this is what happened in the 1940s.
Okay.
A context, a historic context which is not acknowledged. So why did they suddenly wake up? So this is what happened. That's why many of these Jewish people started to leave Muslim lands, because they could see what was happening in Palestine at the time is going to have an impact on their lives. So they started to leave for lands where they felt safe, and I don't blame them. I don't blame them, and they were doing what was best for them. And to this day, we have nothing but a feeling of sympathy, a feeling of love and compassion towards the Jewish people, despite all the atrocities in
this brother Gad.
So what's going on? How are you?
Thank you.
He came just to say how are you. He's Jew, by the way. How are you?
He's Jewish.
Okay. Yeah, he's Jewish, and he is anti-Israel. That's one of the things.
Oh, there you go. Thank you. What a timely. What a timely entry.
Perfect timing.
Yeah.
So he's got that.
As well, he is well learned about history. He will learn about many things about all
so at least I don't look like.
I've literally got to go. At least I don't look. Said 2 minutes ago.
Okay.
I'm just going to make my closing.
Wait. My final statement, and then you can come in, Joseph. So as I said, to emphasize the point, we have nothing but a feeling of sympathy, love and compassion towards the Jewish people. In fact, the Constitution of Medina, the document agreed upon between the Prophet of Islam and the Jewish people of Medina, it states, the final sentence is that Muslims are commanded to extend a hand of sympathy towards the Jewish people, right? This is exactly what we believe in. We were never an enemy of the Jewish people. We will never be the enemy of the Jewish people. Politics, circumstances, geopolitical events can change feelings from time to time, from place to place. That doesn't mean that Muslim civilization is anti-Semitic. It is not. It has never been so.
So perfect. So there's someone. Let's just close off, Ali, and then you can jump in.
No, but why you didn't want him to speak a bit?
My wife rang me like an hour ago, told me I needed to go home.
So one thing, that do you agree the development of the state was unnecessary? Was not only unnecessary, it was wrong.
So I'm going to answer the question, but I'm just going to make my closing points to this debate, and then I'll address that.
So by the way, this is a Jewish brother against another Jewish brother.
Not against him.
Not against. Sorry,
I don't agree with him.
Disagreeing with him. Sorry, do apologize. Disagreeing with Joseph on the issue of Israel and the creation of Israel. Okay.
So Adnan mentioned that the reason there are no Jews left in the Middle East, the reason the Jews fled the Muslim world, 850,000 Jews ran for their life, was because of modern...
Way more than 850,000.
No, 850,000 from the Arab world.
1700s, over 1 million Jews living in Turkey.
You're missing... So do you think it was due to the creation of the State of Israel?
Sorry. No, stop. 850,000 Jews fled the Arab world with the advent of Israel, 1948. When? That's what we're talking. That's the reference point.
Why
this is the reference point.
Why do you think that happened?
Why?
So this is what we're getting to.
What do you think?
I tell you why it happened, because...
Stop. Can I make my point?
Very quick. Let him. You can make your point.
Let me make my point. Yes. Then you can listen to my point.
No, but I want to hear his perspective.
Make your point.
Adnan, you don't control the debate. I listen to you respectfully. You listen to me respectfully. That's how it works.
Okay.
You don't invite someone in
and let him make his point.
Make your point.
So 850,000 Jews fled the Muslim world. As I mentioned before, there are now 3,000 Jews living in the Arab world, almost all of them in Morocco. There are more Jews in Boreham Wood Synagogue than there are in the entire Arab world today. Now, Adnan's explanation for that was because of the advent of Israel, the state of Israel. Zionism. So I want to bring some examples.
This brother is saying it's 100% true.
And this, just like you have Muslims who have disagreements, you have Jews that have disagreements. Okay. That's fine. That's the beautiful of a people. You don't all agree.
So I am not anti-Semitic, right?
I don't believe you're anti-Semitic. I've never said that at all. I think it's the opposite.
Go on, give me some reasons for that. I'll tell you why.
So what I'm going to do is give you an example of Muslim persecution throughout the ages. So in 1066, as you rightfully identified, thousands of Jews were slaughtered.
So you're gonna do a shot? No, wait. Before you do,
I didn't interrupt you.
No, Joseph, you cannot do machine gun tactics and run away. You're gonna stay here to hear my responses, right?
But are you gonna take closing comments?
No.
You're closing comments. You're bringing facts.
So guys, listen. Look what happens the minute I open my mouth. Look how they respond.
No, Joseph. You're gonna do machine gun tactics. You're gonna throw things and you're going to run away.
Of course, can I just say something?
No.
I'm new to the debate. Can I say one thing? Of course, there was fights between the Muslims and the Jews, but there wasn't mass persecution.
Okay, so
when Herzl
stop
went
wagging
round,
your finger at me.
Okay,
calm down.
When Herzl ran around saying he's going to take over the land of Israel, yeah, for irreligious purposes, when he said he'd do it, that's when the Jews in the Arab world started feeling nervous that the Arabs are going to resent this, and they did because.
So can I just make my point? Can I make my point, and then you can make your point?
Interrupt me in the middle, but go on. Yeah, go
no,
on.
because you interrupted me. I was reading out something.
But if you're about to read all these dates and chronologies, and if you think that they're going to make your point stronger by
pointing out massacres of Jews in Muslim
but we have already acknowledged.
So
why would you do this machine gun tactic at the end?
More massacres of Jews in Christian
you could have brought this earlier.
I agree.
Way more massacres of Jews in Christian. There was never a Holocaust in Christian.
I agree.
I
agree.
Okay.
There was never anything.
I agree.
There was
so
a
calm
few.
down.
There was a few stated.
You've come here with such anger.
I think.
Calm down, Afi. Calm down.
So
can I, Adnan, don't dictate. Let me make. See what's happening.
My
He's
request
trying
is you're
to
going to
close
have
down the
to stay.
debate.
My request is you're going to have to stay.
Stay for your.
Make your point. You're going to stay to listen to my response.
But you'll do it quickly. I'll do mine quickly. I'll go through here machine gun style, like you say, and then you can do yours.
No, but why would you?
Okay, this is ridiculous. I could have made my point already. So. 1146, basically the Almohad slaughtered Jews, as we both agreed.
We have talked about it
in Morocco.
Yes.
Yep. 1232, the Jews were slaughtered in Marrakesh. 1240 Jews, the Jews were slaughtered in Meknes. 1275, 40 Jews slaughtered in Fez.
1290,
1290, Jews slaughtered, Baghdad slaughtered. 1465, the entire community of Fez, the Jews are community. 1492, Abd al-Karim
jumping centuries.
Destroys it. Yeah, because I'm going through chronology.
Okay, so what happened in between?
1517, Ottomans rape and massacre the Jews of Hebron, as we established. 1736, the Jews of Algiers are massacred. 1776, the Jews of Basra in Iraq are massacred. 1785 in Tripoli, in Libya, hundreds of Jews who refused to convert to Islam are massacred. 1790, Sultan Yazid ordered the murder and rape of dozens of Jews in Tetuan, Morocco. 1805, Muslims massacre 500 Jews in the Algerian city of Algiers. 1815, Muslims burn 8 Jews at the stake.
That's a machine gun.
1828, the Jewish community of Baghdad in Iraq are massacred. 1830, the Jews of Algiers are massacred. 1830, the throats of 400 Jews in Iran, in Tabriz, are cut. 1834, the Jews in half of the Israeli city of Safed, the Jews were raped, murdered and expelled. 1839, in Mashhad, Iran, 36 Jews were murdered and 7 young girls kidnapped.
No. Even one, no. Even one is bad. Even one is bad. He's done his machine gun.
Existence under Islam was all good is a fanatic. Anyone who tells you it's all bad is a fanatic.
But no one claiming that.
So what I'm pointing out is Adnan, let me speak. Long before the advent of Zionism, Jews were being persecuted in Muslim countries. Long before the advent of Zionism. So all I'm saying is Jewish persecution has been there from the inception. Now I absolutely admit there were Khulafa which treated the Jews very well. There were Khulafa which treated the Jews very well. And Jews achieved.
My response is going to be very quick. Very quickly.
Wait.
Very quickly. Let me respond to his points. Sheikh, wait. Okay. All of this machine gun tactic done by Joseph, deliberately right at the end before he's leaving, is again, it tells a lot. It says a lot about his approach to this topic. Very quickly. All of these things he mentioned, have you noticed that he jumped centuries?
Because there were good times. 16 times in the past 1,000 years. Let me say something. 16 times. You mentioned 16 instances.
I've got some instances. There's many more.
Past 1,000
he was counting
years.
Listen.
1,000 years.
Yes.
Yeah. The past 1,000 years from Jews all over the Muslim world. Now, do you know how many people were killed in 1066? You mentioned the battle in 1066.
Thousands.
Hundreds of thousands by the Crusaders, by fights everywhere. Life was worthless back in 1,000 years ago. You would be speaking about. You were very worked up when you were listening off all this. You were very worked up when you were listening off this. You would be talking about, I'd whip out my knife and kill you back 1,000 years ago. Everyone was killing each other. The fact that Muslims killed Jews in 1066 doesn't mean anything. Many millions more Jews were killed by Christians in 1066 than Muslims. Many.
Are you from a Mizrahi background?
There's no dispute.
No, I'm from an Ashkenazic background.
Doesn't matter where it's from. Are you anti-Semitic? Why are you asking him his background?
No. I assume you have lots of Mizrahi friends.
Can I quickly respond?
No, I don't know any Mizrahi people.
We will finish the discussion now.
Sorry. You don't know any Mizrahi at all.
We will finish the discussion very quickly.
How can you not know any Mizrahim?
I know.
I assume you're Jewish.
What are you saying?
Yes,
Is he blind now? Is he Muslim?
I know.
I know. The reason I ask is that every single Jewish school is full of Mizrahi Jews.
Not true.
Unless you went to Swedish school.
No.
Which
How was the school?
Why do you divert the topic?
So I'm a Georgian.
Let's take the topic.
I'm from County Durham.
Okay, wait. Can we?
I'm from Cape as well.
So
I'm just
Cape-
gonna tell you-
I want to end on a positive note, so that we don't look like enemies.
We're not enemies.
We are friends,
and we believe we should
had
be
a
in
very,
peace.
very good academic discussion.
not as
Thank you for this brother for his
there is a point.
His contribution. His
There is a point about Zionism.
Thank you to Joseph for his contribution.
Adnan, there is a point about Zionism. Yeah, that's our point. That's our thing.
Yeah.
Hold on a second.
Closing.
Yeah,
I want to close on a positive note.
Hold on a second. Just before we close that. Yeah.
Yes.
Now the problem is, for example, when you said about all of these incidents, yeah, we'll say we condemn it. Simple. You say, do you have a problem? You have no problem to say that.
This is what I was going to say.
But when you are supporting a country which is systematically a terrorist country, killing Muslims, killing people on a daily basis, let alone it was established by wiping cities, killing people, every single person in that city, women, children, every single man who was living there. You see the point? When you are supporting, hold on a second, Adnan. When you are supporting that country, that indicates something else. For me, when you for example, when you say to me, do you support ISIS? I will say to you, no. If ISIS kills people, I'm against it. I'm against
Even
killing
if my father kills people, I'm
against, even if my own father will soon do that.
Except your former Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam killing the Jews.
Hold on a second. Hold on a second. Look at you. Look at you.
Assassinate 3 times.
There we go. There it is.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm going to have to come in now. No.
Adnan.
In the history of the world, Jews lived more peacefully under Muslim rule than Christian rule or any other rule.
No, any other rule, not secular rule, not in England today. We have a better standard of life. You have more freedom here than you would in any khilafah.
It can be.
Everyone, do you know something? The standard of life has gone up for everyone.
Everyone.
Not just the
Exactly.
Jews.
Yes.
Exactly.
Even,
And you know
have you been to Saudi Arabia? Have you been to Qatar?
No, they were not.
Have you seen how they live?
Muhammad Umar banned the Jews from Saudi Arabia. I can't go there.
I want to finish now. I want to finish now.
They want to ban Shikita. They want to ban
Arabia, the Jews are banned from Arabia.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening. Okay, I want to finish on a positive note.
This is a good
I
man.
want to finish on a positive note.
misinformed.
All the things
You are misinforming people. That's
You're
not
misinformed. You're reading
Can a
facts
Jew
off
live in
the
Arabia?
internet.
Can a Jew live in Arabia, or did Umar ban the Jews from
Because
Arabia?
of-
What are they doing in Dubai?
Yes.
Look at you.
Yeah,
No, I mean
what are you doing in Dubai?
the peninsula of Arabia.
What are they doing in Jeddah?
This
Ali, calm down.
This is not going to end.
I've
Let
got
me.
a video of you
A
going.
point.
I've got a video of you going to
Joseph.
Golders Green.
Okay,
What
can
are
you
they doing?
Can you finish on a
What are they
positive
doing?
note?
You know, in
Can you finish?
Sharqiya and
Cross Tesco.
Okay, let's
Listen,
finish. Assalamu
in Saudi
alaikum,
Arabia.
everyone. Thank you very much for listening,
Go.
because this is not going to end. So, the point
is
I was
the
going to
point.
make was, despite all this, I mean,
Yeah.
Joseph came up with this list, and our brother here, he counted 16 cases, and even if that's true,
Yeah.
because we would have to go and study every single case, how many people died, where they died, how they died, who killed
Which
who,
is ridiculous.
why, which
What
is
does Haram
wait,
write about?
Joseph,
Sorry.
So
The Rambam was a
if we,
friend,
okay,
a very good friend.
I can do one second, brother.
Give it to man.
1 second, Joseph. 1
Read
second. Okay. I
read
can
many
do
other
the same with what Israelis have done for the last 60 years with the Palestinians. I can make a list of all the massacres, and I can say, look
Sabra
at
and
these.
Shatila. Have you heard about that?
Yes,
It looks
Christians.
It looks
Christians.
Sabra and Shatila, they were
Okay, I think we will finish now. Thank you very much for listening. Nice talking
What I would
to
like
you.
to say.
Nice talking to
And I
you.
say one more thing.
Let God say last thing.
I think your intention is
Thank you.
sincere. I think you want peace
Thank you.
and good relations with
Yes,
Jews, and
we
we
do.
want them with you as well.
We do. Absolutely.
And we may have a different
Absolutely.
view of history.
Our Muslim attitude.
No, there's only one view of history what happened, and you mentioned the Rambam. Do you know the Rambam was a massive physician? Yes, any doctor nowadays who Maimonides was, he'll tell
We
you of
talked
course it
about it.
wasn't.
We talked
already
about
Do
it.
you
talked
know
about
who
it.
one of his biggest friends was?
Yes.
What was it? I forgot his name. He was a Muslim
Malik
physician.
Abdul.
He
Mal-
based his
Malik Abdul.
idea
He served under
on
Suleiman.
biology of the body at the time based on this guy's study.
With the greatest
No.
respect, I just read out Igeret Teman, where he writes to the Temani community, and he gives his real opinion of what it's like living under Islam, because he's addressing Jewish people.
Do you know he was
And-
that closest
No, so
friend and
just-
advisor to
No,
the Sultan?
I responded
He
to it
brought this,
because
he brought
Maimonides was actually persecuted by Al-Muwahidun. Al-Muhajj,
Al-Muhajj.
and he was writing about his experience.
I know,
which
I know.
wouldn't blame him, but he was a physician to the Sultan.
He was a
physician to the king.
Sultan,
so
and the
how can he
Sultan
be?
liked him.
Yes.
The Sultan
So
liked
all,
him and
we
he
discussed
respected
all
him
these
correct.
things. I think that's enough.
And I just
we've
want to end
shaken
off saying
hands.
this: Jews
And we
have
should
lived,
end the discussion.
Jews in the history of the
I
world.
think I want you both to talk next
Since
time.
the destruction of the, I say one thing. Since the destruction of the temple, Jews have been persecuted immensely.
I agree.
Now,
This we agree on.
yeah,
Calm down, calm down.
Okay.
Jews have been persecuted.
Salam alaikum.
Allah, listen to guys.
Jews have been persecuted since the destruction of the temple. Jews have been persecuted in many countries, but the countries that had the most peace in, on a whole, of course, the minority of incidents are Muslim countries.
I agree.
Now,
This is what I'm saying. You're
there
coming
was
late to
never
the
a
debate.
Holocaust in Muslim
I
countries.
agree. You're coming late to the debate. All I'm
So
saying
you're
is
agreeing.
I-
You just read a list.
No, you said they were persecuting.
Listen to it.
30 people.
Just because
2
my
people
point
being
has
killed
my
by
point,
such a
Sheikh,
36 people.
Sheikh,
36.
Just let me respond. My point's very
You're
clear.
making a massacre
My-
out of 36 people,
my-
which is bad. I
my-
agree, which is bad. Even
my-
one is bad.
my
We
point-
believe-
But they condemn
Sheikh,
all the
Sheikh,
crimes
let
of
me finish.
Zionist country.
Let
Just
me make my point, because you're all like barking like.
No, we're not barking. We're not
Well, we
barking.
can't say
We're
that's a
talking,
dog
we're
who barks. We're not dogs, by the way.
Okay, you're all shouting. You're
We
shouting.
shout,
You're
okay,
shouting.
we're
at me.
shouting, yes.
You're shouting. There's one of me, and there's like 20 of you. So just let me make my point very simply.
Okay.
So I think that the existence of Jews historically was better under Islam than Christendom. Christians, personally, not all Christians, people like Kashmirs and Poland were very good to us. But
How
as a
good
whole,
was it? Can you explain how good it was?
in the sense that they invited us, they allowed us to live in the city. They
Oh,
allowed.
until the next one, until
I agree.
Christianity, who killed them all.
I agree. I agree.
For 10 years it was peace.
You're shouting, but I'm agreeing with you. I'm saying under Islam
No,
we had
when-
it better. My point was
Well,
very
when you say
simple.
better, what is better? What does it constitute? Can you see? Can you show me a picture? An image of better life under Islam.
So in Christendom, you would have court Jews. Jews that financed the monarchy, Jews that reached great positions of power and influence, but then there were the Christian,
in Christendom?
in Christendom. So all over Spain, most of the Jews. So I'll pull up. So
No.
most. So here in London, you had what do you call him, Jacob of Lincoln. He was one of the
When was
richest
this?
men.
What period?
This will have been at the time of the. This would have been pre the first expulsion, so probably the 10th century, 10th or 11th century. I don't know the exact date.
Okay.
So Jacob of Lincoln, he was the richest Jew in Europe. He lived in the UK, and when the Jews were initially kicked out of the UK,
how the Jewish people lived there? Do you know how they lived there?
Can I just try and finish my point? Can I literally? I'm agreeing with most of what you're saying.
But how did they live? Even when he was rich.
I let you speak. I let you speak. Just
Well,
let,
no,
all-
I
all-
want
let you speak
people
as
to
well. They let
understand
you
the
speak
living
as well.
standards. How did the Jewish people, despite being rich, because they were giving money on interest, they were dealing in usury. The Jewish people the main business was giving loans to the kings and dignitaries and nobles, and that's how they made a living. And in return, they were protected by the nobles, and the kings. And when that protection was lifted, even if it was not lifted, when they were giving this usury, how were the Jewish people living?
I agree. Not good.
How were they
not
living?
Good. Not good. I
Not
agree.
good, yeah?
They killed,
Even
they
the
burned
richest.
themselves down
How
in
were
the
the
tower.
richest
They
Jews?
burnt-
How
in
were the
York,
richest
they
Jews
burnt-
living in Islam?
So in York, so this is what I'm trying to say. In York, they burnt Jews at the stake. I don't know of any instances, but that's because I'm not a scholar.
No Holocaust.
Of Jews
No
being
Holocaust.
burnt at the stake under Islam.
There would be no
So
Holocaust
under
Islam.
My point is really, really simple.
There was never in the history.
My point is really simple. Under Islamic rule as a whole was better for Jews than Christian rule. Never disputed that. Said that consistently from the beginning. My point is, even though it was better, it wasn't perfect. There were massacres. There was persecution.
It was never perfect.
Jews paid the jizya to be shahirun, to be, you say subdued. I think humiliated is a better example.
I think we're repeating the debate now.
Yeah, we are
Can we
repeating.
shake hands again? Shalom
Okay,
alaikum.
wa alaikum
Let's finish now.
alaikum
Salam
Assalamu
alaikum.
alaikum. Peace be on all. Thank you.
Sheikh, let's
Thank
do
you
it.
so much.